Welcome in and welcome back to another edition of NBA Soundsystem Canada. Gil McGregor here with my guy Kyle Irving, back after a brief few weeks hiatus. It is the off season for the NBA. It's the off season for us too. And this is probably the quietest time of the year. So we took some time off, but we are back to discuss a lot of things that have happened since we last met here. But before that, KI, man, how you doing? How's your summer going? How you feeling?
Summer's been good. Can't complain. Like you said, a little bit of time off. And it's funny, like, as we were just, Gil and I we're discussing what we want to talk about on the show today. Like, we're going back and forth on things that we missed over the last 2 weeks. And even though the NBA news wire has pretty much been dead, there has also been a lot that we missed. There has been. So I'm excited to talk about it. Excited to talk some hoops. It's been a nice couple week break. Been covering the WNBA. That's been, that season's been great. And it's been nice to dive into the weeds of that too. But, we're only I guess like a month away from Eurobasket, and then another month away before we get back into some NBA action.
Yeah, Eurobasket is big. We'll talk about some of the guys in there. You got Luka Doncic is going to play, Nikola Jokic is going to play, Giannis is going to play. So, I mean, those three guys right there, like that's top five, top seven, whatever you want to say.
We're tuning in. Yep.
Exactly. I'm be locked right there. In. Exactly right there. And you also mentioned, I think the next big thing on the NBA calendar is going to be the schedule, which we're only a few weeks away from learning that. So we'll probably learn about like the holiday games and Christmas Day games and all of those things as well. So those will be big. It'll be here before we know it, because once we get into August, you're a month away from September. When you're in September, training camp starts. So that's really exciting. I guess, where do we start though? We talked about Luka Doncic. He's been the talk of the town this week. He's looking a little different, little body transformation for Luka Doncic. Nico Harrison created a monster. Maybe, I don't know. They also said that these plans were in place already. You're an LA guy. He's an LA guy now. Does he have his own Erewhon smoothie? Is that how you say it? Does he have his own smoothie out there yet?
Yeah, that is how you say it. And my girlfriend always gives me shit because I always pronounce Erewhon wrong. So you did it pretty well in the first.
There you go. There you go. It's a guess. Does he have his own smoothie there yet? Like, what's going on? Luka Doncic has slimmed down. He's doing the press tour right now. He might sign an extension with the Lakers, but much ado about nothing. Is this actually the new talking point, like Ben Simmons develop a jump shot, or do you think this is going to translate to what Luka is doing and the Lakers are going to do this upcoming season?
I want to try my absolute best not to sound like a major Luka Doncic hater, but like, come on, man. Breaking news. Professional athlete is coming into the season in shape. Like,
best shape of his life.
Best shape of his life. And guess what? He was also in the best shape of his life in the summer of 23, in the summer of 22, in the summer of 21. Like, I cannot believe how much of a story that turned into. And don't get me wrong, like, it is noticeably different. He looks great, at least in those pictures. He looks great. But it's like, come on, man. Professional athlete gets into shape going into the season. Like, that should be the standard. Like, why is that?
Right.
Like,
you're right.
Yes. And I'm seeing people that are like, oh man, skinny Luka, like I'm throwing an MVP future on him. And it's like, the guy averaged 28, 8 and 8 last year when he was fat. Like, it's all like, he's going to be good no matter what. And is he going to be that much better because he's skinny? Like, I really don't think so. Listen, I don't want to come off as a Luka hater, but like that headline and the amount of attention that has gotten, it's like, he's a professional athlete. He's supposed to be going into the season in shape.
Yeah, it's funny because like his teammate is the guy who's notorious for whatever the number is, 1 million, 1.5 million. The dude is putting this much money in his body, and now Luka is like, and honestly, I haven't read the Men's Health magazine, although I know they got caught up with some AI and thinking his vertical leap was not. Yeah, come on now. If Luka Doncic had a 42-inch vertical leap, that'd be the greatest player of all time. Let's be real.
Yeah,
he'd average like 45 a game. But I did see like he's eating 250 grams of protein a day, and he's like fasting for 16 hours. And there's one other thing that he's doing in this routine, but again, like, easy for me to say as just, a podcaster, content creator, but I feel like if, the same way that we have the nicest cameras that we can have and the nicest, light setup and this nice Yeti Blue microphone that's been doing this, like we invested in the things that help us. When what you invest in is your body, like you would think that those are the things you're going to do, because not only is it going to maximize his earning ability, I know that he can't get the supermax that he would have gotten in Dallas, but it's going to extend his career, to extend the amount of time that he's going to be able to make millions and millions of dollars. And Jordan Brand is doing a big rollout with him. He was on the Today Show this morning. Luka Doncic is all over the place, and it's just interesting that he has been the topic of conversation and discussion. I am curious to see, because he does look a little more like he did. If you go back and look, to his rookie year, he was noticeably slimmer. I was having this conversation with our guy, friend, and even in the bubble, friend of the program, our guy, Scott Rafferty. Do you know how many dunks Luka Doncic had last season?
Oh, man. I'm going to throw the number 3 out there. I feel like it wasn't much. That's probably lowballing it, though, honestly. That's probably disrespectful. Actually,
that was very respectful because he didn't dunk at all last year. So
he had a dunk last year?
Zero.
That's crazy. Because
zero dunks. Sorry,
man, back then those highlights.
One dunk. One dunk. I was looking at his Lakers stats. He had one dunk in 50 games last year. As a rookie, he had 25.
So yeah, see, like he had some like sneaky, like not necessarily like posters, but like some like I'm going to challenge you with the rim here moments, like when he was younger. So. Damn, man, do I have to walk back that whole spiel? Do I have to walk back that whole spiel about professional athlete comes into the season in shape? One dunk is crazy.
One dunk last year is crazy.
6'10", man. Like that's wild.
So yeah, Luka Doncic, he's not a small guy. We'll see him maybe get back above the rim. Maybe that alters how he and the Lakers play. Speaking of he and the Lakers, will stay with that team. I gotta ask you, man, are you all right? Like, what hurt more, seeing Rondo do 2 stints for the Lakers, or seeing Marcus Smart sign with the Lakers after a buyout with the Wizards because Luka recruited him there?
I was going to say, I got to give a shout out to my boy, James Skaz, who works over at 98.5 in Boston. He was the first one that said it. He was like, nothing can hurt me because I saw Rondo in a Lakers jersey. And I was like, you know what? That's actually kind of how I feel. Honestly, like genuinely, like I feel like obviously it's going to hurt to see Marcus Smart playing in a Lakers uniform, diving on the floor, doing everything that he does. But like, I'm just happy that he's in a situation where he's, competing again. He's playing for something, because there was a moment where it felt like the Wizards were like pretty content with standing pat with like him and Chris Middleton, and like obviously Brogdon's still a free agent right now, but like they felt like, they were like, oh, these are like veteran players who can help mentor the younger guys. And I'm like, Marcus Smart's not trying to do that. Like he wants to go out there, dive on the floor for loose balls and like, get in people's face on defense and compete and try and win a championship. So, I'm excited to see how he can help that Lakers team. I thought it was honestly like a really smart signing because, outside
was it really smart?
Yeah, it was smart. There you go. But it was smart. Because like, honestly, like outside of like Gabe Vincent, like seriously, like Bronny James is probably like the next man up for like legitimate guard minutes off the bench for the Lakers. Right. And like, he looked pretty good in Summer League. I feel like he's eventually going to progress into that role. Like, is he ready for that role right now? I'm not necessarily sure he was. Yeah. They would have had to kind of shoehorn him into it. So, now you bring in Marcus Smart, someone who's been there before, someone who's willing to do the dirty work. He has had a variety of different roles since he left Boston, and he sounds pretty committed to, just trying to win games in LA. And it sounded like Luka really wanted him there. So, I'm excited to see how that fit works out.
Yeah, for Marcus Smart last year, 34 games, averaged 9 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists per game. But it's important that he missed. It's a note that he missed a lot of time with injury, but it wasn't the type of injuries that like it's like, oh man, like he had a troubling hamstring. Like I think he like had a finger situation that like kept him off
I think
the
it was
court.
His thumb or something. Yeah,
and it's like he's playing for the Wizards and the Grizzlies. Like the Grizzlies were in a weird spot around that time, and not the lineup. But I was going to mention this, and this is how I'm going to flip it back to you. It was the ultimate guys being dudes moment. I was going to pick up a smoothie, not from Erewhon, because it's not Erewhon in Charlotte, but a tropical smoothie. I was going to pick up a smoothie, and there's this guy sitting like right there. Like, I guess I don't know what he's waiting for. We had his car door open, another guy standing on the curb, like with his hand on top of the car door. He's like, I don't know, man, how much you still got left in the tank? Like they're just sitting there talking about the Marcus Smart signing on a random afternoon. Instead of going somewhere to sit down and talk, they talk about it right outside of Tropical Smoothie Cafe. But I asked you that to say, like, we haven't seen Marcus Smart really play meaningful minutes in a while. He's 31 years old. It's not like this guy is 37, 38 years old. What do you expect? Like, how much do you really think that he realistically has? Not necessarily in the tank. Like, dude's not old, but it's been so long since we've seen him. Not that long, but it's been a little while since we've seen him be the Marcus Smart that we have known him to be, and what he did during that finals run in Boston and all of those things. So I guess, what are your expectations? I know you talked about the role he could step into, but what he could do in that role. Yeah,
I think that at this stage in his career, and again, like he feels older than he is because he's been in the league for so long. But I really think that he's someone who he'll probably start 10 games for the Lakers at some point this year with players out due to injury. Like, he's someone that you can kind of plug into a role where he can guard guys that are bigger than he is. So, he can technically play like a pseudo 3 if he has to. He'll play some of the 2. He'll play some of the 1. He's not shy to shoot. He's never going to be shy to shoot. And, he is someone who isn't afraid to take and make big shots. So, like, I could see games where JJ Redick has him on the floor as a closer. Like, is he going to be the Marcus Smart that we saw in Boston? No, I wouldn't expect that, but I do think that he is still somebody that can contribute to winning, someone who, brings a certain type of DNA to a Lakers team that needs that type of DNA, someone a little bit more physical, someone a little bit more gritty, grimy, willing to do the dirty work, like I said. So, and that can even be inspirational for someone like Gabe Vincent, who, like, he had, highs and lows last year, but, like, kind of motivates you a little bit because, like, he could probably still steal some minutes from him. So, like, he's going to, we already talked about Bronny James, like, talk about the development of Bronny James. Like, Marcus Smart is the type of player that, like, when he was coming out of the draft, it's like, he should be looking at guys like Marcus Smart, Davion Mitchell, Drew Holiday, Derek White, like, you know what I mean? So it helps to have someone who can kind of show him the blueprint of what it's like to be, a smaller guard, and show him some tricks of the trade from, the first guard defensive player of the year in like 30 years. So, I think it's a good fit. I think it's another example of, I don't know how the Lakers just continue to, like, pull these types of players out of nowhere and get them on their roster. But, that's kind of what happens when you have LeBron James and Luka Doncic on your team.
Yeah, I think that my final thought on this signing is that, like, I think he's not at his peak. Obviously, you said it, he's going in year 12, which is crazy to think about Marcus Smart because, like you said, we've seen the entire journey, even back to, like, Oklahoma State. But he's also not, like, as bad as people are trying to talk down on him being. I know people are like, oh, man, it's not 2022 anymore, like, blah, blah, blah. But, like, again, we haven't seen him have an opportunity to play meaningful minutes. That first year in Memphis was a wash because they were so injured that, like, they weren't doing anything. Then last year he gets traded, and anything in Washington was a wash. It's literally in the name. So here he is, an opportunity to get back to playing some meaningful basketball around some guys, and Luka Doncic wanted to have him. So it's important to keep your superstar happy, and I think we've seen that with the Lakers. Now, take it over to Inglewood, take it over to the Intuit Dome, and if we were to have a flashback of previously on NBA Soundsystem Canada, I said if they did it, you would catch me on the wall next year. So all that's left is me recording a soundbite from the wall next year. I was trying to figure out what hat to throw on. I decided on this one. Chris Paul is home. Chris Paul is back. Go Deeks. Chris Paul is back in LA. It was cool to see how emotional he was to come back. That Lob City era and everything that he did and accomplished with the Clippers. So much has happened since then, and it's kind of crazy. We've talked about Chris Paul's longevity and how LeBron being around for so long has kind of allowed us to take it for granted. But that 2011 to 2017 run, bad luck kind of got in their way. But thinking about the Clippers, there was always, like, my memory of them as a child was a team when I'm a little kid. I was bad at video games. I played against the Clippers to beat them. Like, they were bad. The Clippers and the Hawks were, like, always the laughing stock of the league. The relevance that Chris and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan and all the guys who kind of came in and out over that course of time to kind of legitimize what was going on out there, that kind of came back. And those memories came back. So I'm not expecting them to be, this guy who just takes them from being, a team that was on the verge or the fringe to being a championship winner. But they added another guy who's going to spend a lot of time running that second unit. And, he said they call them the unction. Like, it's going to be funny to see, like, these old guys try to take this one last shot and see if they could be the last team standing.
Yeah, and the whole, like, unction thing, like, it makes it. I feel like it almost plays down, like, how good James Harden was last year, how good Kawhi was when he was healthy last year. Yep. Like, I'm not going to sit here and do the whole spiel that we do every single year of, like, I kind of believe in the Clippers, but it's like, it's a solid roster. Like, Bradley Beal obviously had his struggles in Phoenix, but he also had some moments where he looks pretty solid offensively. And, like, it sounds like they plan on starting him, and Chris Paul is going to come off the bench. And, like, this is a player who started all 82 games last year. Like, he was one of 6 players in the NBA to start all 82 games last year. And that's at age 39. Like, he's still got something left in the tank. He's still, a player who can come off the bench and make plays for you, but also it's an injury prone team. Kind of like I was just saying about Marcus Smart. It's like, there's going to be plenty of times where Chris Paul is going to fill into that starting lineup. And you have the utmost confidence in a player like that to step in as a spot starter and, kind of keep the train rolling. So, I think it's a good pickup for them. Obviously, the big thing for him, it was beyond fit. It was beyond the role that he's going to play. It's, to be home with his family. And I respect that decision more than anything. But, like he is someone who actually can legitimately contribute to this basketball team. And like the Clippers are a team that, this year they were one game away from knocking off the Nuggets in the playoffs and potentially making a little bit of a run. So like, there's no saying that they can't do that again next year. And like they brought in Brook Lopez. That's a massive, massive pickup for them, behind Vika Zubac, who just had the best year of his career. Like this is a team that has plenty of talent. There's no shortage of talent on that roster. The West is going to be a gauntlet. We said it last year. It's going to be even more of a gauntlet next year. But, when you're bringing in talented players like CP, like Brad Beal, like Brook Lopez, even though they're at the latter stages of their career, they can still continue to do what they've done to make them as successful, or how successful their careers have been to this point. So, he's someone who they said that there are going to be nights where he doesn't play at all. Like I kind of have a hard time believing that. Like right now, like, they got, no, definitely not. Definitely not. And, maybe they say that just to kind of soften the blow. If there are some nights where he only plays 5, 6, he only plays a couple stints, whatever it is, a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there. But like, they got Chris Dunn off the bench. They got Bogey off the bench. But after that, like, I don't really think they have any other guards they trust as much as Ty Lue is going to be able to trust Chris Paul. So I think it's a smart pickup. I think it's more than just like, a sappy, like, homecoming reunion, but obviously it is that too. And it's cool to see CP back in, the Lob City, in the new era of the Lob City.
Yeah, and that's cool too, because like it's hard to think of very many people more important to the Clippers franchise. Like we could talk about the Buffalo Braves and Bob McAdoo and all of that, but since they've been in Southern California, shout out to San Diego as well, but since they've been in Southern California, I know Bill Walton had his issues with his injuries, but like thinking about what Chris Paul meant to that franchise, and there was Sam Cassell and Elton Brand and all of those guys as well, but like what he has meant to that franchise, to see him come back and likely end things up there is cool. One last thing I was going to say about that, when you mentioned their depth, like it's good that I think they have guys at each position, like 2 guys, like starter and reserve, that you trust. And that makes me feel like they're a team that slow and steady kind of wins the race. That's not even meant to be an age joke. Like I feel like, they probably won't win more than 7 in a row next year, but they probably won't lose more than 3 in a row. And by the end of the year, they'll just kind of be there. And, whether it's 46 or 52 wins, once it gets to the playoffs, then we'll maybe see. As long as they can get there healthy and whole, that's what we'll see. Before we go to the break, we talked about, closing the circles and returning home. We kind of hinted at it before when we talked about Damian Lillard landing spots, but I thought, and I will admit, I thought he was going to go there after one more stint somewhere. He said, nah, I'm going back to Portland right now, even though their new uniforms are trash. I don't know what you think about them. We can mix some cloth talk in there. I'm going to tell Drew Holiday about his Wi-Fi face-to-face, but I'm going to go back home, rehab, being back with family. It was cool to see him and his kids with him as he was signing his contract to return to the Trailblazers. So first, how shocked, stunned were you by Damian Lillard's decision to return to Portland? And second, what do you think about Portland? Because I think they're a sneaky team. I just wish they looked better doing it. As you can tell, I don't like what they changed to the uniforms.
I will say I was like starting to cross my fingers a little bit, because there was a lot of the news that like Tatum was trying to recruit Dame to Boston. You know how I feel about Dame. I love Dame, and it would have been cool to have both of them sit out for an entire year and then have him make any sort of an impact the following season. I will say I think the biggest shock to me wasn't necessarily that he went back to Portland right away. I was pretty surprised they gave him $42 million. Like that, to me, I was like, I wasn't sure he was going to command that type of money. I didn't really know, especially because there was a lot of those reports that's like, he's still going to be making his, 50 M's from what the Bucks owe him. So it's like, he didn't have to go to a situation where he needed to have a lucrative contract. Like, at least from all the reporting, it seemed like he was going to be pretty okay with taking the minimum, because he's still going to get, superstar money from the money that he is owed. So I was pretty surprised to see they gave him that kind of money. It's a cool story, especially with the way that the Blazers are trying to, take this franchise. Like it's clear that they believe in the young pieces they have, but they want to put like more legit pieces around them to try and compete sooner than people might think. That was a team that was better defensively than people realized last year. I think they have guys they really trust in Tamani Kamara and Donovan Clingan, and, Shaedon Sharpe obviously is someone who continues to get better every year. They're still, fully trying to turn Scoot Henderson into their franchise point guard at some point down the line. I'm sure Damian Lillard was brought in to try and help that, just as Drew Holiday was. That's why they, right from the get-go, when they made the trade with Boston, and people were like, oh, like what's Drew Holiday's next destination going to be? Like, it was pretty quick that the Blazers got word out to, their beat reporters, hey, no, this is, we're not planning on buying him out. We're not rerouting him. Like, we want Drew Holiday here because we think he can make an impact in developing this team. And Chauncey Billups talked about it too. Like, he feels like they're establishing a defensive identity. They're working towards something. So, Damian Lillard obviously going to be out for this year. It's cool that he's going to be able to rehab back home in Portland, be back with his family as well. Another big time reunion from arguably the greatest trailblazer in the franchise's history.
Yeah.
I still think that he has something left in the tank to go back or come back next year and provide what they need in shot creating playmaker, scorer, leader, all of those things. So, it's a signing that, the money's a little bit expensive, but everything else that he brings to that team, that franchise, as a leader and someone that's been there before, it's invaluable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's the cool thing that like thinking about the way that now they have him and Drew to be the mentors, like you're talking about. Scoot has had highs and lows, and that's to be expected from a young guard in the NBA. This is kind of the year where it's like, all right, man, let's turn the corner a little bit. And it's just year 3. I think that's the important thing to think about when there's been guys we've talked about. I think we kind of compared him, not games, but just situations. Jalen Suggs, everybody was kind of out on Jalen Suggs. And then Jalen Suggs realized what his role was going to be in the NBA and what he was going to be good at in the NBA. And now he's up 150, 160 M's because he figured that out. Right. It's going to be fine. Scoot Henderson, there's still time for him to figure it out. Dude is 21 years old. That's the thing that's so important. I think that now, them thinking that the Henderson pick was alienating Dame and that made him leave. Well, now they're together and now they have an opportunity to really have a cool pass in the torch. We said a lot of names and I can't remember. Correct me if you did say this, but Jan Hansen, like that. Maybe that's what
I didn't
it is.
say Jan Hansen. I was just thinking about that.
Everybody's sprinting to the Pacific Northwest to play with Jan Hansen. So, man, I gave them a poor grade, and I will raise my hand. I gave them a poor grade, and Jeremy Lin talked about this. People kind of get underestimated when they play in domestic leagues in Asia. He played in the Chinese basketball league, CBA, and he looked good during Summer League. And this is a guy who he's still learning the game. He's a fun player, fun guy. Seems like he likes to have a lot of fun. He wears the handsome and young shirt he's been wearing around Vegas, and he likes to sleep and play video games, and he's just one of us too. So that's fun. I'm excited for that too. So a lot of young talent there. You mentioned the fact that they have Drew Holiday, they have Toumani Camara, and if Matisse Thybulle is healthy a little bit, that'd be a pain to bring the ball up the court against any of those guys, obviously at different levels, because Drew, you gotta take care. But I think all that being said, I think this is a sneaky team to, because they were pretty solid toward the end of last year. Chauncey was coaching for his job. They won 36 games. So I think they're better than they were last year. And if they're better than they were last year, this is a team that could mess around and win 40, 41, 42 games. I would not be surprised at all.
I think there was a stretch at the end of the year last year. They rattled off 8 or 9 wins in a row or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was behind defensive identity. And one player that we still haven't even mentioned yet, Denny Avdia, was awesome for them at the end of the year last year, putting up some big numbers. And, that's a guy who, again, he was a lottery pick. He was someone who was very highly touted in that 2020 draft class. So, they got some pieces there. And I also want you to make sure that you're not too hard on yourself. I had to pull it up because I know we tweeted it out at Underdog, but when Jan Hansen was drafted, they had DeAndre Ayton, Donovan Clingan, Rob Williams, and Duop Reith on the roster. So if you gave them a bad grade, you're not necessarily giving Jan Hansen a bad grade. It's why are you drafting a fifth center when you already got 4 other ones on the roster? Yeah. Obviously, things have cleared out since then. It sounds like Rob Williams is someone who's probably not going to be there. I'm not sure if Duop Reith's contract is even guaranteed, and DeAndre Ayton is obviously in LA now. So, they've cleared the way for some playing time for Jan Hansen. I'm excited to see what he, if he gets his way into the rotation, see how he can make an impact this year.
Yeah, for sure. And as we go into the break, I will say I'm a big Duop Reith guy. 1, he's an Aussie, and 2, shout out, love purple, live gold. Shout out to all my LSU people. Duop Reith representing well for the Tigers and the NBA as well. We'll throw it to a quick break. Got some more to talk about around the world of basketball, some cool things that pertain to Canada, and we'll take a moment to talk about what's going on in the W as well, because we are about to enter the season's stretch run. All right, well, we coming out of a break. This is NBA Soundsystem Canada, and honestly, a lot of big news for Canada going on. Obviously, you and I talked a little bit about AmeriCup is coming up, but on the NBA/WNBA side of things today, we learned that officially that the Mavericks will host training camp in Vancouver. The Raptors are having their training camp in Calgary and will play the Nuggets in Vancouver for a preseason game. But before all of that, the WNBA Canada Game, Atlanta Dream, Seattle Storm will make their way to Vancouver for that. So a lot of exciting things. I have no idea why the Mavs are going to have their training camp there. But if they have a good season, it'll be partly because of all talent on their roster. But going to the beautiful city of Vancouver to get ready for the upcoming season probably isn't a bad idea for your team to build some team chemistry. That being said, we talked about the WNBA Canada game. Season's been interesting. The MVP conversation, maybe. Start the season, she was playing like otherworldly good. I think as of late, she's still playing like regular good or regular great. So like I think that Alyssa Thomas deserves some more conversation. She's in the process of going off right now. Shout out to the Terps. Got a little bit of a triple-double maybe in the works right now. But your thoughts on the season? The other big storyline, Caitlin Clark has been out of the lineup for the majority of the year, quad, groin. Just get healthy. This is the big thing with that. I have a theory on that, which we can get back to. But I guess we can start with the MVP conversation or just general thoughts on the WNBA season and where we are at this point.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, big time feels like it's a 2-horse race between New York and Minnesota. New York's also adding Emma Miesemann, who is like working through visa issues and everything like that. But it's coming at the best possible time because Brianna Stewart was just diagnosed with a bone bruise today. They've been without Jonquil Jones missed time. She's back and playing again, but they're missing both their backup bigs as well. So Miesemann, who was Finals MVP like 3 years ago or something like that, or it might have been longer than that at this point.
Yeah, but still.
She was one of the best players in the Olympics last year too. That's a massive pickup for them. But you said it, like Alyssa Thomas in the Mercury, they're the team that I keep saying anytime I'm talking W with anybody. I'm like, yes, it's a 2-horse race with the Lynx and the Liberty, but do not sleep on the Mercury. They've also been a team has had players out of the lineup all year, but with Satu Sabali in the cut now and the way that Alyssa Thomas is playing, they picked up DeWanna Bonner from Indiana. They've really impressed me with the way that they've been playing. And then, you mentioned the Caitlin Clark injury. Like, obviously that's unfortunate, but, that's a team, the Indiana Fever have been good enough to stay afloat even without Cece in the lineup. And Kelsey Mitchell, shout out to her. She is balling out of control. She is playing crazy right now. If you see an Indiana Fever game on your television and you click on it and then you find out Caitlin Clark is not playing and you switch to something else, please do me a favor, stick around for a little bit and watch Kelsey Mitchell hoop. She is a lefty. She is cold. She can get a bucket anywhere on the floor. I've really enjoyed watching her play, stepping up with CC out of the lineup. But yeah, man, it's been cool. It's been cool to dive into the W like that. It's been a fun year this year. The playoff race is going to come down to it in this next month.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. The playoff race is going to be good. I'm looking at like the bottom half of the standings, right, where it's like you got Minnesota and New York at the top. Minnesota's really been the cream of the crop. New York has had some rough patches lately, and Phoenix is right on their heels. But when you get to the second half of the standings, it's Atlanta, Indiana, Vegas, the Mystics. Shout out to the Valkyries hanging in there, like a really good expansion team.
They're so much fun to watch too. They play hard, man. Fun. Yeah.
Another team. If you happen to be up late or you live on the West Coast and you're looking for something to watch, and it's like, oh, Valkyries have a home game. Like
I was just going to say a home game, especially at home.
My gosh, Valhalla, man, it's crazy. Like the lavender purple, whatever it is that they wear. Like you got Pajimski sitting courtside. Maybe they need to move him somewhere else. But he's trying to make himself so valuable that like they're like, oh, we can't trade this guy. He's like our super fan. But they shout out to Brandon Pajimski. But they have a lot going on. They have a fun team. Between Tip Hayes, Kayla Burton, Janelle Salon, older sister of Hornets Salon, Hornets Summer League champion Tijan Salon.
We so they have a lot. That. We'll get back to that. Actually,
we got to get back to that. We'll close with that. And also the tough news is Kayla Thornton's out for the season, which is really tough. She had an all-star campaign. Great story. Undrafted out of UTEP. Was a championship last year with New York, and then he gets drafted in an expansion draft, and then she is an all-star out there as well. So Natalie Lacase, also great coach out there. So that's just kind of cool. It's exciting. The coach of the year candidate to do that with an expansion team. It gets you excited. Obviously, there's some CBA things that the league needs to straighten out. We hope that there is a season to talk about next year, but it does get you excited about what the Tempo could potentially do next year in their first season, and also the Portland Fire will be coming in for the next season as well. So going from 13 to 15 teams in 2026. And this is a good lead up to that year. Let's just hope we continue to ride that momentum into having a season in 2026, because obviously you and I both are enjoying what's going on in 2025. So we need to keep it rolling.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath though. I mean, it just doesn't sound like things are, the discussions are trending in the right way. And we don't want to get too in the weeds of that because they had a big meeting over All-Star break, and it sounds like it didn't go as well as the players were hoping it would go. And, I give them all the respect in the world for fighting for what they fully believe they deserve and what they've earned, because the league is booming, and it's more than just one player. It's more than just two players. Like, the talent across the board is incredible. It's worth tuning into. It's, worth following along with. But if they don't believe like they're getting paid the way they deserve to, getting the right percentage of the, the revenue that the league gets and all of that, like, I don't blame them for wanting to sit out. It'd just be really, really tough to see the league go into a lockout when it's like been trending, as it's skyrocketing the way that the league has been. Like I've said it a million times over. Like last year was really my first year fully following the league. This year is like I've been, completely in the weeds watching games every single night. But like there are a lot of people like you and I who are well, I don't want to say you and I'm not going to group us together. You've been a legit W fan for a minute now, but like there are a lot of people like myself who are really starting to get into it now. And I'm sure again. Here I am like trying to draw another parallel to like the NHL. Like I need to stop doing this on a Canadian podcast, but like I know that like the NHL, when they went into a lockout, like they lost some fans and fans didn't come back. Same with MLB. It's like, they're trying to work their shit out right now too. And like, it feels like the MLB has a little bit of momentum right now. And you don't want to go backwards there either. And like when you have a lockout, sometimes fans don't come back. So I hope that's not the case with the WNBA.
Yeah, and also having this conversation that's a great point you mentioned with our guy, another friend of the program, former voice on the program, Carlin Gay, and he was saying that next year is the worst possible time because you think about the World Cup is going on next year. So it's like that gap, like obviously as hoop heads, we're going to miss it, but people who are just trying to watch sports, they're like, next thing, whatever, like on to the next thing just for that time being. And obviously like we're going to miss the W dearly, and the sports world is going to miss the W dearly if they aren't able to work it out. But if it were this year, the void, I think, would be felt larger. And I think that it wouldn't be, I guess it's not going to get the attention that it deserves at certain points of next summer that it would if other things were going on. People just might get distracted, I guess I should say, in the shorter way to say it. So hoping they figure it out, hoping the league, because they got a fat TV deal that's set up. I think it's $200 million annually. All of these things are happening. The league is growing. The league is booming. There are a bunch of superstars, people who, when they hang them up, will be considered all-time greats. And we talked about them in this MVP discussion. Maybe Asia Wilson makes a late season push as well. So we'll see how that goes. But the biggest thing is, we got, for all you out there, enjoy the stretch run of the season. We're 27, 28 games in. That means it's 44 this year. So we'll be talking more about the stretch run and the playoffs. The one other thing I was going to say, new playoff format this year, 1-1-1 the first round. And none of the first round matchups right now would be good for travel. Like, could you imagine if Seattle and Atlanta had to play a 1-1-1 series? Because that's what it would be right now if the playoffs started today. It's like one in Seattle, back to Atlanta. If you go for a game 3, like that would be a little wild. So the good thing about the league's growing, maybe we can get conferences back. That'll be fun as well. So we'll see. We got to spin back around to close out what we talked about a little bit. I mentioned Janelle Salon, older sister of Tijan Salon. It's something about these Bay Area sibling duos with Charlotte siblings, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's Steph and Seth Curry, Tijan and Janelle, like, just excellence championships, all these things are happening. But I kind of said it jokingly, but I think I tweeted Charlotte City of Champions, or I think I tweeted this parade inside my city, whatever it was, when the Hornets won the Summer League championship. But it was a big deal, man. Like, it was a big deal. The Hornets won a Summer League championship. What are your thoughts on it? Because I feel like you have some thoughts about it since your face lit up when I mentioned it.
No, I have questions that I want to fire back at you, but I'll give you thoughts first. The team looked legit. Like, Konkanippel really played well. I feel like he kind of like proved that I thought they reached for him a little bit. Like, I was like, for someone that I feel like has like the ceiling of like a really, really high level role player. Maybe he can be more than that. And the way that he can just shoot, dribble, pass, like, he can fit next to anybody. And I feel like that was the type of player that they were going for, trying to fit next to LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. And then they needed a backup big. Ryan Kalkbrenner looked pretty good in Summer League too. Like, I feel, and even like KJ Simpson, I thought he could have had a case for, Summer League championship MVP. Like as a backup point guard, like there are guys that played really well, guys that they have clearly like decided they trust. And Charles Lee's trying to build the system here, establish a culture with the Hornets. So, it's cool to see them win. But on a more joking matter, I want to get back to you now. Biggest win in Hornets franchise history, yes or no?
I'm not gonna give you that, but
not gonna give him that. All right. Are they going to hang a banner? Are they going to hang a banner in the Spectrum Center?
Put one in the practice facility.
Well,
put one in Greensboro, where the G League plays, because a lot of those guys are going to be a part of that. Like, fruits of the labor. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not fully opposed to that. And they are. You probably have not seen this yet. Before we got on here, the Hornets Pro Shop is doing a limited release of championship shirts and posters. They're going on sale tomorrow. So they are doing that.
So that you took my third question. My third question was, did you buy a championship t-shirt?
TBD.
Not yet. Because another friend of the show, Bryce Baldelli, a good friend of Gil and I's who worked for the Hornets back when we were going into the arena every single day. I was like all over him. I'm like, you have to buy a shirt. You have to buy a Summer League championship shirt.
Victory in Vegas.
I think he purchased one.
Did he?
Yeah, I think so.
I respect that. I respect that a lot. And I will end this with this is kind of serves as our shout out here, because I don't know if you know this, but the Hornets fan club in Charlotte, or like the official fan club, you'll laugh at this. They host their pre-games at the local. So we know the local, a local watering hole. They had a championship celebration party at the local this past Friday. I was out of town, so I didn't even get a chance to even think about going. But as part of the party, the Hornets fan club won. They bought like a keg and like went tapped out, but everything was on them. The first one. They replayed the Summer League championship game on the TVs in the local.
Hey, you know what? It was a good game, though. At least it was a good game. Yeah, it was a good game.
But guess what? But Charles Lee popped out. Charles Lee popped
establishing a culture. Establishing a culture.
And that's exactly what I was getting ready to say. Like, you can, like, it's very easy to kind of laugh at, like, and honestly, I think it's important to kind of like laugh at yourself a little bit, right? It's like, and we were having this conversation, and this is me, like, you know, the Hornets, especially when I was younger, are a franchise that was near and dear to my heart. And I wouldn't get here and say like I'm like the biggest fan anymore, but I am happy when they're successful because I live in Charlotte. I'm from Charlotte. Like, this is home. And I'm just saying this to be honest. Like, I don't know if there is a franchise in sport that has been less successful, like, ever, right? Like, they haven't been in the playoffs since 2016. They haven't been in the second round since I was 8. So, like, you know, like a purple shirt guy ruined what could have been in 2016. Like, that's the last, that's the last big what if. So
off the wrong person.
Right. Yeah. Right. Like, that was like one of like D-Wade's like last like big moments too.
Yep.
But I say that to say, like, I think the irony and like the fun that they're having and the franchise having it, kind of laugh at themselves and like celebrating this Summer League championship really is more so what it represents. And like you said, Charles Lee popping out to the local to celebrate with the fans who just want to win something. And to win something and to feel like you are going in the right direction. And it hinges on the health of LaMelo Ball and the health of Brandon Miller. But the fact that you know that now you got a good young nucleus in Con Knippel and Liam McNeely and Ryan Kalkbrenner and Sion James, and you have some things to be excited about. You have a local guy on your team in Grant Williams. You have, you know, a lot of things going on. You have a front office and a coaching staff who is in lockstep on the identity and what they're trying to do for this franchise. I'm out here speaking. I'm preaching right now. But I just feel like that's what that represented. And I do kind of understand. I wouldn't be mad about, you know, because we could look back at this and laugh and say, man, it meant nothing. But we also could look back at this and say, man, that's kind of when the franchise turned the corner and things were a little more legitimate and their fortunes kind of just changed after a decade of bad luck.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, you know, like you said, you got to be able to laugh at yourself, but at the same time, like, you still won something. And the players who you needed to step up in those moments stepped up. They looked good. They played well. Like, yes, Summer League can mean absolutely nothing if you play well. It can also mean absolutely nothing if you don't play well. But what's important is that you show the flashes of being able to do the things that the actual team is going to need you to be able to do. Con Knippel did that. Ryan Kalkbrenner did that. I thought KJ Simpson did that, like I already said. Like, there were multiple guys on that team that did that. But as you were talking, I wanted to look it up real quick. And I think a big thing with Hornets season-long projections in terms of win total over-unders, they have to like build in the safety net of potential LaMelo Ball injury, because that's the real. Like, this is a team that could be a play-in team if LaMelo Ball stays healthy and plays 65 games. That's not even asking for much. If he plays 65 games, this could be a play-in team. They have them at 25.5 wins, higher or lower. What do you like?
Hammer it. Hammer it. We're hammering that. We're hammering it. I
Let's
really
go.
like, listen, like I'm getting close. What we call it, the fanboy parlay. I might take Wake Forest football, Carolina Panthers, and Charlotte Hornets. Let's just give it all. They're sleeping on everybody this year. Let's see what's going on. We're doing winning in the Queen City. We're doing winning in the Carolinas this year. It all started with the Summer League championship.
I like it. We'll come back to that. For sure.
We'll revisit one at a time. We'll revisit each and every one of them as the season progresses, or the respective season progresses. Obviously, we have a lot of other stuff going on, so we appreciate all of you guys who tune in. Even though the MLB trade deadline is going on right now, and the Jays are balling right now for the most part. I know they had a tough game yesterday, but those things happen. Jays are balling right now. We know that training camp is starting, and all these things are happening in the NFL, and football camp is starting, and college football as well. So all of you guys, we appreciate. Those of you who want to get your NBA fix with NBA Soundsystem Canada, subscribing to us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, and following us on Instagram. Back from a little bit of a break. Hopefully we'll get more in your feed. Hopefully we'll get some more news to talk about as the summer goes on, and we're definitely looking forward to. Thanks for checking out NBA Soundsystem Canada on YouTube. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe below and find us wherever you get your podcasts. And on Instagram, we have weekly episodes and bonus content throughout the week.